Yo, what's up? Welcome back to another episode of The Source. Continuing on with college football week 4, most loaded college football week of the season by far. SEC matchup here, Ole Miss in Tuscaloosa to play Alabama. Bama's laying 7 points here, totals at 55.5. Let's do it.
Welcome to The Source. The Source. Source. Hey, get the Source.
So like I said, this line's at 7 and action's coming in on Mississippi in this one. Tickets are on Ole Miss, money's on Ole Miss. Ole Miss is starting to look like a pretty public dog here. And none of the books have moved it down to 6.5 that I have seen. Doesn't seem like the odds makers are trying to sell any Alabama minus 6.5 tickets. Really curious to see what this line does moving forward. So let's start by talking about last week, and let's address the elephant in the room. Everyone's talking about it. Yes, Alabama only scored 17 points on South Florida last week. Yes, they were tied 3-3 late in the third quarter. But it's important to take note that not only were they trying out two brand new quarterbacks, but this was also the ultimate flat spot for Alabama. Look at this weird-ass non-conference road game. Look where it sits on the schedule for Alabama. Right smack in between the Texas and Ole Miss games. They take a trip down to South Florida. I mean, we see this every single year. We saw it a few times last Saturday. Florida State almost loses to Boston College right before the Clemson game. Colorado almost loses to Colorado State right before the Oregon game. And then you add on the fact that Alabama was trying out a pair of new quarterbacks in the game. Nick Saban basically makes it obvious that he's using that game as a practice for the Ole Miss one, because Jalen Milroe has not looked good, definitely, and it looks like Alabama's offense is not going to be good enough to beat the top teams in the nation with Milroe at quarterback, but it's still good enough to beat the hell out of South Florida. If Alabama stuck to their guns and kept Jalen Milroe at quarterback and took this as a serious game, they would have won that shit comfortably. But just because I'm not stressing about that game in particular doesn't mean there isn't a serious problem here at the quarterback position for Alabama. Through 3 games, Alabama's passing offense is ranked 76. Alabama hasn't been ranked outside the top 25 in rushing or passing in years. In fact, they're almost always top 10 in both. 76 is just crazy. Now, the good news is the run game is there in a big way. And from what I've read, that seemed to be what the plan was the whole time when they brought in Tommy Rees as OC. Nick Saban wanted to bring back the bruising run game in Alabama, and he did. He just didn't count on the quarterback play being quite that bad. Now, some good news for Alabama. The Ole Miss defense is not great. They're ranked just 50th in effective rush. They're actually ranked worse than that against the pass. On paper, Alabama should absolutely steamroll the Mississippi run defense regardless of who's playing quarterback. Some more good news for Alabama. They've absolutely owned this rivalry. Alabama's taken 7 in a row here. The last 3 times Ole Miss came to Tuscaloosa, they got blown out. Ole Miss is just 1-13 in their last 14 trips to Alabama. Oh yeah, and you want to know the last time Alabama lost back-to-back games at home? 2007, Nick Saban's first season as head coach there. They just lost to Texas at home, so this would be the second loss at home. Now, some bad news for Alabama. The Ole Miss offense is as official as it gets, especially the passing game with Jackson Dart. Ole Miss is currently 2nd in the FBS in passing yards per game, 2nd in passing yards per attempt, 5th. They're rated 5th in effective pass. This is a dangerously explosive passing offense. As you would expect, Jackson Dart's numbers are absolutely elite, completing over 66% of his passes and a passer rating over 200 on the season. Keep in mind, we just saw Quinn Ewers come into Tuscaloosa and sling the ball around on this Alabama defense. Threw for 349 yards on 9.2 yards per attempt, 3 touchdowns. Not great news considering they're about to play one of the best passing offenses in the entire FBS. Here's the thing with that Texas game though, I'm going to chalk that one up as an outlier. Yeah, Alabama may have allowed 349 passing yards to Texas and Quinn Ewers, but the other 2 quarterbacks they've seen combined for just 220 yards passing on Alabama. Yeah, not the toughest opponents, but this Alabama passing defense is ranked 5th in the FBS. And Quinn Ewers, there was like a revenge aspect based on the matchup last year. There was just a lot of other factors going on in that game. I'm not doubting this Alabama pass defense right now, especially at home. And let's not forget, Alabama did a great job last year traveling to Oxford, slowing this pass game down. Jackson Dart threw for just 212 yards. Alabama won the game on the road 30-24. Judkins did have a big game on the ground running the ball, but Ole Miss as a team was just held to 3.9 yards per carry. Another thing that worries me about Ole Miss, sure, they're racking up all these yards against Mercer and Georgia Tech, but the only decent defense they've seen this year was on the road in Tulane. They were held to just 363 total yards, 89 yards rushing on just 2.5 yards per carry. This is Alabama's defense in Tuscaloosa. That's going to be even tougher than Tulane. This is going to be an awesome game to watch. I don't know, betting value, this is a tough one. I think at a full 7, you have to say the value's on Ole Miss. I personally am probably going to take the under at 54.5, so let's get that up there, under. I think Ole Miss is going to sell out to stop the run and dare Alabama's quarterback, whoever it's going to be, to make plays through the air, and I don't know if whoever it is necessarily going to be able to deliver. And then the other side of the ball, I think Alabama's defense is good enough to give Jackson Dart and the Ole Miss offense problems. So I like both defenses in the matchup, and I think it's going to go under the total. As far as picking a side, like I said, at 7, I'd say I have to lean Ole Miss. I'm not loving that it's a public dog. I'm going to wait it out. I'll let you know on the live show Saturday morning, but as long as it's 6 or higher, probably is going to be Ole Miss, but I'll let you know. If you want my top bets, parlay of the day, if you want to join the Discord, or if you want to get in on the NFL against the spread giveaways, last week was a signed Drake London helmet. This week's a signed David Montgomery jersey. If you want to get in on that, just head over to KyleKirms.com. All the information's right there on the homepage. College football week 4, absolutely loaded Saturday. So many good games. Be sure to bet responsibly, and I'll talk to you in the Discord.